About 2 months ago, I saw the video game Night Trap for the first time. It is a sick, disgusting video game, in my judgment. It's an effort to trap and kill women.
Drinking beer, smoking marijuana, listening to Judas Priest, and contemplating suicide. Ray was dead within seconds. Jay wounded himself, survived for 3 years, but later died from what doctors termed complications of his injury.
In saying you have gained one senator to follow in this cause, because I've learned through almost 30 years now in public life that I have no doubt that the increase of violence on television is fueling violence in the home, in the schools, and on our streets.
Are there subliminal duets on the Better By You, Better Than Me song?
Absolutely not.
What I discovered, I eventually described in my book, Video Kids Making Sense of Nintendo. And what I found shocked me. Video games are overwhelmingly violent, sexist, and racist.
Attorney for CBS Records, Priest's recording label, told Entertainment Tonight, quote, "There are absolutely no subliminal messages on this record. And in this situation, with two dysfunctional substance abusers who engaged in often violent fantasy behavior from an early age, it is unfathomable that people would look to something no one can see or hear as a cause of this tragedy." And
the Congressional Quarterly Research says the year 1992 set an all-time record for violence in children's shows. According to Harvard University psychologist Ron Slaby, the harm caused by violence in the media goes beyond increasing aggression. Youngsters also experience a victim effect, increased fearfulness of becoming a victim, and a bystander effect, increased callousness toward violence directed at others.
You know, it amazes me how we hear on YouTube, and we warned this years ago. I know I've done many shows in the past, not on YouTube, but on other platforms, on public access years ago, and we warned that this will continue. If we don't do something about it, it's going to continue to happen. History will repeat itself. And the same issues that we had in the past is being brought up again. We cannot take responsibility for our own actions. We have to put blame where blame does not need to be put. We have to take our responsibilities. If we've done something wrong, you know, we have to face the music to this situation. Before we get into this story, Zane here, Man with the Show again. I have the executive producer here, Jay. Hi, Jay. And we just want to thank you. Thank you for those who have subscribed and stayed with us on this. Stayed on top of this channel constantly because, you know, hey, the networks are looking at us. CNN, all of them, they're looking at us now. They want to get rid of us because we take away from their viewers. And it's just like we are the threat. So by you sticking with us, not only this program and channel on this social media platform, everyone else that produces here, that brings you a good show week to week. And day to day, daily basis. So, let me tell you, I am a child who grew up in the 60s through the 70s, 80s, and beyond. You know, and I grew up with a lot, you know, I saw the beginning of the technology change. You know, we went from regular black and white TV to color. We went from going from 4 networks to an extensive amount of cable channels. We were introduced a way to record our favorite shows. Then we were able to talk to people online. We were able to play games on our televisions and online. And we were able to watch many things from around the world. Listen to music, play games, watch movies from various sources. We were able to get information at our fingertips. But every once in a while, something creeped through, something happened, something that basically took lives away. And basically they blamed all these things for those issues. Not taking, for example, that the person or persons may have a mental issue, that they're depressed, that they've had a lot of problems in their lives. They've maybe been bullied. They may, have a drug or alcohol addiction or any type of other addictions that you can think of. Or maybe it's just something at home that they basically couldn't handle. The parents might have been very abusive. But we've been seeing this a lot just crop up back in the news again. And like I said, it keeps coming back, and we don't square in on the true nature of the problems. And if you've clicked on this show and you're wondering where I'm getting to with this, well, if you haven't been paying attention recently, over in Russia, there was a case brought up. And it was concerning a couple of suicides, some people that have killed themselves. And basically, the prosecutors had deemed that anime was the reason for their deaths. That basically the particular storylines or the violence of certain particular animes had killed these people, these kids or young adults who, I didn't get the ages on these, but basically what we've seen is, and I'll read a little bit into it, state prosecutors successfully petitioned the court in St. Petersburg, Russia, to stop the distribution of several popular anime in the country, claiming that teenagers will reenact the violent scenes depicted in the series. The court announced Wednesday that it decided to ban titles including Death Note, Tokyo Ghoul, and Inuyasha. Every episode contains cruelty, murder, and violence, the court said in December 18 announcement that it had registered 5 lawsuits against 49 websites offering the series. Koblensk District Court ordered Death Note and Inuyasha to be banned from distribution on 2 websites, and Tokyo Ghoul be banned on 1 site. The ban only affects the listed web addresses according to the state agency RIA Novosti, but the censorship agency Roskomnadzor, I might pronounce that wrong, I do apologize, may interpret the order more broadly. In simpler terms, they're going to be banning a lot of anime that has violence in it. Death Note specifically had the focus of a controversy for several years. Parents in the country have been campaigning to ban the global hit property created by Tsuzumi Oba and Takeshi Obata in 2013, when several volumes of the manga were found in the bedroom of a 15-year-old girl who died by suicide. The title made headlines in January when the teenage boy, who was known as a fan, fell out of a window wearing a white shirt and a red tie similar to the main character as Light Yagami. Let me tell you something. This is the stupidity that you go. Okay, was the only thing out of that 15-year-old girls were mangas? She had to have other books. This happened, like I said, this happens it's like every couple of decades or so. You get this flow every couple of decades that, attacks on music, on television, cartoons, and now it's worse than ever. Worse than ever, because we're seeing censorship come into play, even in this country. Perfect example, Elmer Fudd. They removed the shotgun from Elmer Fudd from all new Looney Tune cartoons. That is the most ridiculous thing you ever heard from a company. To remove the plot device that makes the character what he is, that he is a hunter. How is he supposed to hunt without a gun?
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
They give him a bow and arrow, and someone kills themselves and they're going to blame the bow and arrow? And the the other one that gets me is the fan fell out of a window wearing a dress shirt and red tie. Do you think that he sat there and says, well, I'm going to go kill myself, so I'm going to dress up like my favorite character and jump out the window? That's too much emphasis to say on there. Parents look to blame other people, or things, or music, or movies, for things that they should be resolving in their own home. And you can go back and look at many things throughout the years. I mean, I remember, here, harken back, if you saw a little bit in the beginning of this episode, back in the 90s, you had a group called Judas Priest. If you're not familiar with them, great band, great music. They were sued by several families because their children committed suicide. Because they sat in their room all day long, drinking beer, smoking pot, and listening to Judas Priest. One kid wrote down, I did it because I wrote Judas Priest. If the kids are sitting at home all day long, in a room, you should be knocking on the door, finding out if they are okay. Spend some time with your kids. See, this harks back. When I was a kid, we had a big family. Mother, father, brother, cousins, aunts, uncles. Everybody, we took care of each other. We've had our issues and stuff like that. But we didn't go out, if someone passed away or something, we didn't blame it on books or TVs and stuff like that. Even though it happened then too. I mean, I can hark back to the many times, like I said, the Judas Priest thing. And then, the Catcher in the Rye. The 90s was one of the worst times for this. I mean, you had the Judas Priest lawsuit. Then you had the attack on video games. You had all those controversies of the video games. Then you had the violence on television. I mean, the 90s was a year that just they hit everything. And then now you're seeing it again across the board. Now with social media and stuff like that. Oh, we can't have this. We can't have that. We can't have a Blazing Saddles because it's very racist. Even though it's making fun of racism. Is that you can't make a movie like Blazing Saddles today? Sure you can. Sure you can. It's a joke. 2021 comedy is dead. You have comedians like Dave Chappelle, a couple others that are trying to keep it alive. And they'll tell you straight out. Stop being a pussy. Excuse my phraseology. You have to sit there and take the responsibilities for your life. The Russia ban is not the first one for anime. We've been at war. Anime's been at war. You had the issue in Australia where right now you can't buy certain light novels, you can't buy certain mangas, you can't buy certain anime, you can't buy certain figurines. They can't be imported into the country because basically they said it contains this. They hark back, no game, no life. Sword Art Online. And they said, oh, it's child pornography. Have you watched it? Have you watched what it is? No, you haven't. See, one of the big things with anime, and I've said this a couple times. What's the great thing about anime? It deals with issues. If you look at some of the ones that are current, ReZero. ReZero is a perfect example. The main character is a shut-in. He's a main shut-in. There's a current one also, if I'm saying it wrong, I do apologize. Mushoku Tenshin, who was also a shut-in. Now, did you know in Japan there is a major problem with depression, people isolating themselves, throughout the country. They shut themselves in. The government pays people just to go check on these people because they just don't leave the house. They order in their food. They work from home. They just don't leave the house. Some of these animes, they show that. Others, yeah, they go a little bit extreme. We can hark on Redo the Healer, which we'll be discussing in another episode, that it basically talks about rape and violence and stuff and revenge. And some people say, it's over the top. But there have been many films showing this. And they criticize it. But the thing about the situation is it's emotional issues. You have people that go through these things and they go through, various emotions. You're going to get some people that want revenge. And then there are others who shut themselves in, that basically they close themselves out, from the world. They don't, they've had traumatic things in their life and they closed it out. And some of these shows and movies do show that. Some do it in a very beautiful way because by the artwork. Others do it in a very insane way. Some do it in a comedic way. Some do it in a violent way. But they're all stories. They're all stories. And you criticize, get into the Russia court case. You're blaming certain things that has nothing to do with what happened to them. And I'll tell you why. When you have people who close themselves to the world, they're going to look for things on there. They're going to look at many different things. They might be fixated because of the character and stuff like that. Yeah, they're fixated onto that. But they get to the point where basically they need help. They're screaming for help. They're showing the signs they need help. But nobody's there to help them. Their own parents don't even pay attention. They said, you hear that, they were a nice person. They were a nice person. I never thought it would happen. Things like this don't just crop up overnight. It builds up. It's like if you ever look at how someone who emotionally becomes a serial killer, it's, you ask an expert in the business, it builds up. It's not something overnight that they decide. It's something that it is basically starts out at one point. They start doing one thing and then it starts to climb and climb and climb and climb. They may start with hurting insects or small animals. Then they start to get larger and they start to inflict pain onto others. And so on and so on. And you look to the perspective of other people that are suicidal, that they sit and do nothing all day long, or they don't talk to anybody. They close themselves out. They have issues where they're possibly made fun of. I myself went through an issue in my life where I was bullied and picked on. And nobody, other than my parents, nobody cared. Some of it was due to racism. Yeah, I'm Hispanic. I had, if anyone that tells you, they know what racism is, let me tell you something. I went through racism in my life. And nobody cared. Nobody cared about it. It's that old joke in the boys will be boys. I was attacked constantly. Today they're like, oh yeah, we got to take care of the bullying and all that. Where were you in the 70s? Where were you in the 80s when we needed you? A lot of people, they're going to blame everything, music, they're going to blame all this on what they see in front of their eyes. And not realizing is they're blinded to the real fact. People have mental issues. And they need help. I was screaming for help. At least I had the love of my family to assist me. You know, and I did go out and get help. But there are others, many others, that didn't do this. I had a family member who basically did themselves when I was a child. And we never knew why. We never understood why. We were there for them. We understood. Sometimes you can't catch it all the time. There are occasions that you can't. That someone's going to be to the point where then you won't be able to stop them. And that's the truth. Even though you've given them the most love and stuff like that, you won't on there. But in the cases that have been going on, that has been happening, and you see this, you have fatherless homes out there. You don't think that emotional, that basically the kids are not going through emotions and stuff like that? You have bullying to the point where they come home and they're still being bullied online. And it's amazing when you see this and you hear this, and they still continue to bash in, to hit, strike, and go against everything that they can in media. You know, we're about at the point where we're at book burnings. And you don't think that it hasn't happened? It happened. It has happened. There are things being removed online. At this very moment, Disney is pulling a lot of their classic cartoons. I'm still trying to get information on that, but they're pulling them from the Disney Plus channel. Why are they? Why are they doing that? It amazes me, the history of this. And we continue to make the same mistakes. We allow government to come in and dictate this is what the problem is. And the true problem, the true nature of the beast, is mental illness. The Judas Priest one, the lawsuit, they sued Judas Priest. I am surprised they didn't sue the shotgun company. These days they would sue the shotgun company. We've seen this many times. But you know, they didn't go after the shotgun. They went after the bigger money. They went after CBS. And the judge, and I was glad that the judge had the wisdom to see through this and dismiss the case. Get it gone. You know, and you hear the things that, you know, some of the things that we put on the beginning of the video, where they're talking about in Congress, and like, oh yeah, we have this violent on there. And the video game company says, well, we've put, you know, the different levels of video game, we've put stamps on them. It ain't our fault. We're here to manufacture them. The fault is in the parent for buying them. Spend some time. For those of you who have your own families that are married, you have your own families, spend some time with your children. They're very important to you. If they're very important to you, spend some time. You know, sit down to dinner all together. Have Sunday dinner like it used to be. Because I know we don't have those anymore. We don't have them unless it's the holidays. It's very rare. It's very rare you hear about those anymore. Those of you who are single, that basically living at home, if you have an issue, if something's wrong, go get help. If you don't want to talk to your parents, talk to a friend. Talk to clergy. There are many people out there that will help you. There's a suicide hotline. I've mentioned it many times on this program. We've given that number out. In fact, we'll give that number again down at the bottom here toward the end of the show. And, you know, people will talk. They're there to help you. Talk to them. Don't blame things that have nothing to do with why this happened. So, comment below. Let me know, how do you feel about this? The continuing bashing on anime. You know, it's going to be soon. That's going to be on our end. Even though there has been some editing of anime, editing of manga, because they're afraid of it. Because 85 million copies of Demon Slayer has been sold. 85 plus. 350 to the box office in Japan alone. It's a beautiful, beautiful anime about a brother and sister. The sister is turned into a demon and how he's trying to protect her while trying to hunt down the person who did it to her. A very, very good story. Catch it. Netflix has it now, right now. You can watch it on Netflix or you can watch it on Hulu. Both those systems have that anime. It's a really great thing. I don't recommend Redo the Healer for everybody. I mean, if you like a good revenge, ultra-violent, and we'll discuss this on the other side, maybe that's for you. But there's plenty of others. I mean, I Spit on Your Grave. If you ever saw I Spit on Your Grave, people like freaked out, and it's like, actually they've remade I Spit on Your Grave several times already. The other part of it is, with Redo the Healer, it says if the main character, the main protagonist, was a female, would we getting this much criticism for it? So you let me know about it. Once again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. And don't forget, right, Jay? Share this video. Here's also the number. If you have an issue, please call this number and talk to somebody. Or if you happen to be a person who believes in the church, see your local priest. If you can't confide on your parents or those who you love, go and find someone, a third party that can help you. Get some help if you have these issues. So until next time, and we have another story. And let me tell you something. Anime is getting beaten into the ground, because I got another story about cosplayers coming up on the next one that they're trying to squeeze money out of cosplayers now. So we'll get that on the next one. We'll talk to you then. Have a good one. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Because you are important. Your life is very important. Bye-bye now.